The scene opens in a spacious, high-end room characterized by sophisticated decor and a glimmering chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Miss So-young-ji, a woman with elegantly styled red hair, sits across from a sharp-looking man in a gray suit. The atmosphere is professional yet heavy with unspoken intentions. The man, casually checking his phone, breaks the silence by asking a direct question. "Miss So-young-ji, why did you ask to meet today?" His tone is inquisitive, signaling that this meeting was requested by her and likely carries a specific purpose. The perspective shifts to a close-up of So-young's face, revealing her internal trepidation. A small bead of sweat trickles down her cheek, betraying the calm facade she tries to maintain. Her thoughts are sharp and strategic. She realizes the man is keeping his distance and setting boundaries. She muses to herself that his behavior is a safeguard, a way for him to cut her off instantly if their arrangement or the situation ever goes south. She recognizes that she is walking on thin ice, but she is prepared for the cold. Continuing her internal monologue, So-young's eyes remain focused, reflecting a mix of vulnerability and steel. Despite her anxiety about his power over the situation, she justifies the risk with a cold, pragmatic logic. She acknowledges that while he may be using her for his own ends, she has every intention of utilizing him as a tool for her own goals. "I guess we're even," she concludes, framing their interaction not as a partnership of trust, but as a transaction of mutual exploitation. The intensity of the scene peaks as the focus shifts to So-young's emotional core. A spiked, jagged speech bubble highlights her primary motivation: revenge. She is consumed by a singular, burning desire to get back at individuals named Na-young and Dong-song. As her internal thoughts declare that nothing else matters as long as she achieves her retribution, her physical actions mirror her mental state. Her hand is shown clenching tightly into a fist, a squeeze sound effect emphasizing the sheer force of her resolve and the pent-up anger she is harboring. Finally, the tension of her clenched fist gives way to a calculated outward display. In a stark contrast to her internal rage, So-young reaches out and gently places her hand over the man's hand. This gesture of feigned intimacy is designed to soften the mood and perhaps manipulate his perception of her. With a calm, almost wistful expression, she speaks her aloud response to his initial question. "I just wanted to meet you alone, at least once." It is a masterclass in masking her true, vengeful nature behind a veil of personal interest.
The air in the room remains thick with suspicion. Mr. Han, leaning back slightly but maintaining a sharp focus, looks directly at So-young with a gaze that demands honesty. He is not easily swayed by her physical gestures or the sudden change in her tone. With a level of bluntness that cuts through her performance, he asks the pivotal question, "What do you want from me?" He clearly recognizes that a woman like her does not arrange such a meeting without a specific, likely complex, objective in mind. The scene shifts to a tighter shot focusing on their proximity where the physical boundaries are further blurred. So-young doesn't flinch or retreat under his scrutiny. Instead, she doubles down on her approach. Her hand remains steady as she delivers her proposition. In a bold move that sounds like a romantic request but feels like a tactical maneuver, she says, "Go out with me, Mr. Han." It is a high-stakes play, inviting him into a relationship that is intended to serve as the perfect cover for her hidden agenda. So-young's face is shown in a beautiful, soft light, her expression molded into a picture of gentle sincerity. She tilts her head slightly, her eyes appearing warm and inviting as she delivers a classic line of confession, "I fell for you at first sight." To an outsider, it looks like a moment of pure vulnerability. However, given her previous internal thoughts about revenge and using him, this confession is merely another layer of the elaborate mask she has constructed to win his cooperation. The camera focuses on Mr. Han's reaction, or rather his lack of one. The word stare appears beside him, emphasizing his silent, unreadable evaluation of her words. His dark, piercing eyes seem to be searching for any crack in her facade, any sign of the squeeze of her fist from moments before. He is a man who calculates risks just as carefully as she does, and he is clearly weighing whether her confession is a gift or a trap. The final image reveals the true nature of this romantic encounter. Below the table, or hidden from his view, a thumb reaches out to tap a screen. The screen displays an active voice recording interface, capturing every word of their conversation. As the recording continues, So-young's internal voice darkly notes, yes, this relationship. It is the ultimate confirmation that this entire meeting has been a setup, and the relationship she proposed is not built on love, but on recorded evidence and strategic leverage.
The story begins with a cold, calculated realization. A hand tightly grips a mobile device, but the focus isn't on the technology, it's on the heavy intent behind the action. The internal monologue reveals a dark truth. This entire arrangement isn't about affection or connection. Instead, every move made and every word spoken is merely a means to an end to avenge Min-gi. The air is thick with the scent of a brewing vendetta. The atmosphere shifts to one of dangerous intrigue, a man leaning in with a sharp profile and a subtle, knowing smirk makes a startling proposal. The lighting of the room, marked by an elegant chandelier in the background, contrasts with the scandalous nature of his words. He looks toward the woman and suggests, "Then let's start our relationship as an affair." It is a bold move designed to bind them together under a veil of secrecy. The woman sits across from him, her expression composed but her hands clasped tightly, perhaps betraying a hint of tension. As the man adjusts his coat with a soft rustle, the narration deepens. He justifies their unconventional pact with a cynical yet practical philosophy. Romance, after all, is the most convincing reason for two people to keep meeting. In their world, love is not a feeling, but the perfect cover story for a conspiracy. Despite the agreement, the woman remains hesitant about the necessity of physical proximity. In a stylized, chibi-like thought bubble, she points out the efficiency of modern technology. She questions the need for constant face-to-face interaction, suggesting that if he needs any documents, she could simply send them via email or express mail instead. To her, the romance feels like an unnecessary complication to the exchange of information. The man immediately dismisses her suggestion with a firm shake of his head. He insists that security is crucial, rejecting the digital paper trail that email would leave. He skillfully intertwines their mission with their affair, demanding that she hand over the documents directly during our dates. By doing so, he ensures that their secret meetings remain frequent under the guise of two lovers who simply cannot stay away from each other.
The negotiation reaches a critical turning point as a hand is raised, fingers splayed to emphasize a specific number. With a sharp and decisive flick, the man sets a firm boundary on their arrangement. The words hang heavy in the air, echoing his singular condition. 3 months. It is not a suggestion, but a deadline that defines the scope of their entire operation. The woman stands before him, her back to the viewer as she absorbs the gravity of his statement.
He looks up at her with a steady, unyielding gaze, repeating the terms of their contract to ensure there is no room for misunderstanding. "We'll meet for exactly 3 months," he declares, framing their upcoming dates as a countdown rather than a courtship. In a wider view of the room, the power dynamic becomes strikingly clear. The man remains seated, composed and authoritative in his gray suit, while holding up 3 fingers to reinforce the timeline once more. He occupies the space with a sense of cold confidence, looking across the table at his partner, who stands at the edge of the frame, highlighting the professional distance between them, despite the affair they are about to begin. The man raises the stakes, turning the deadline into a harsh evaluation of her skills. His voice remains calm, but carries a cutting edge as he explains the consequences of failure. He tells her plainly that if she cannot secure the necessary files within those 90 days, it will be seen as a personal failure. It means you're not competent to do your job. The mission is no longer just about revenge. It is a trial of her worth. The scene closes with an intimate, tight shot of the man's lower face and neck, emphasizing his quiet intensity. The finality of his words settles over the room like a shadow. He isn't just counting down the days for the mission's sake. He reveals a deeper, more ominous reason for the 3-month limit. With a somber tone, he adds, "It's also the time I have left." This revelation casts the entire agreement in a new, desperate light, suggesting that for him, the clock is ticking in more ways than one.
The tension in the room is palpable as the woman looks on, her expression a complex mix of apprehension and deep thought. A single bead of sweat rolls down her cheek, betraying the calm facade she tries to maintain. Her sharp, reddish-pink eyes are fixed on the man before her, weighing the gravity of the choice she is about to make. After a moment of heavy silence, the decision is finally voiced. A simple, purple-bordered speech bubble appears on a clean white background, carrying the weight of a turning point in their relationship. The words are clear and definitive. "Okay, let's date." It is the moment the line between them is officially crossed. The man seizes the moment with a triumphant, playful smile. He isn't just looking for a title, he wants to ensure there is no retreat. No backing out, he insists, his tone light but firm. He goes further, leaning in to remind her that being lovers means continuing their intimate habits, specifically mentioning going to hotels, just as they had been doing. The woman, overwhelmed and flushed with a deep crimson blush, hides her face slightly, resigned to the arrangement as she murmurs, "All right, very well." A close-up of the man reveals a sharp, confident smirk. He is clearly the one driving this negotiation, and he isn't finished yet. With a glint of calculation in his eyes, he prepares to move the conversation forward. "Now, the next point," he says, indicating that this dating agreement is only the first step in a much larger agenda he has planned for them. In the quiet aftermath of the conversation, the woman stands alone, leaning over a surface with her hands tightly clasped. The world seems to tilt around her as she dwells on the implications of her choice. In this soft-lit, contemplative moment, she appears to be bracing herself for the journey ahead, one that is now officially tied to the man who just rewrote the rules of their connection. The man leans back, his posture relaxed yet dominant as he continues to lay out the framework of their new arrangement. He looks up at her with a steady gaze, issuing a warning that serves as the foundation for their temporary bond. Let's not fall for each other. It is a cold, pragmatic boundary designed to protect them from the messiness of true intimacy. He defines the timeline of their pact, suggesting a window of 3 months where they can indulge in their desires without restraint. For the next 3 months, we can enjoy ourselves, give and take what we want, he explains, emphasizing a relationship built on mutual satisfaction rather than emotional connection. He reiterates his main rule once more, insisting that they must keep their feelings entirely out of the equation.
The woman listens in silence, her face pale as she processes the clinical nature of his proposal. A small sweat drop appears on her temple, signaling her internal discomfort with the terms being dictated. Her reddish eyes are wide and troubled, searching his face for any hint of warmth, yet finding only the sharp edges of a businesslike deal. The man narrows his eyes slightly, his expression becoming more intense as he poses a hypothetical scenario. He leans into her space, his voice dropping as he begins a sentence that carries a hidden threat, or perhaps a challenge. If I do start to have feelings for you, the incomplete thought hangs in the air, thick with unspoken consequences. A close-up of the lower half of his face reveals a thin, knowing smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. He finishes his thought with a brutal ultimatum, placing the responsibility of ending things squarely on her shoulders. "You'll have to cut me off completely," he declares, making it clear that if the lines of their no-feelings rule ever blur, there will be no room for a soft landing, only a total and final severance.